Hi everyone, give me just 1 second here. We will get started shortly. I'm just going to do the finishing touches on our marketing, and then we will get going. And for those who are joined in already, I am joined by a fantastic artist and league player, Jonathan Hamilton.
Yo.
Let me, get on Tumblr. You have to actually double link it. There we go. All right, so we will get started. Hi everyone, I'm Tim Von Rieden with ConceptCookie.com, and I'm doing the weekly live stream with our guest artist, Jonathan Hamilton, today. Say hi to everyone.
Hey guys, how's it going?
And today we decided we're going to be covering the topic of vampires. So if you have been following Concept Cookie, you know that every Wednesday we've been doing a new Halloween-themed live stream with a special guest artist, and we've already done ones with Purple Kekleon and James McDonald. And next week we will be joined by Sycra, who is the YouTube tutorial author. And today, though, I am joined by Jonathan, and he did the fantastic tutorial over the summer for Concept Cookie on Ambient, Occlusion shadows, sorry. And it was one that a lot of you guys resonated with, and it seemed to kind of hit home with how something as seemingly subtle as shadows like that can actually impact your piece so much in the long run. So if that is something that you are interested in, or if you don't even know what I'm talking about, I will link it after this live stream's done so you can check it out. And then, as always, when we're doing these live streams, if you have any questions, even if they don't pertain to what we are working on specifically, but any questions that you have for Jonathan specifically, feel free to ask them, because I am going to be kind of the moderator along with drawing, but I'll be looking at the questions you guys have, and I'll be kind of feeding them to him throughout the stream. And this one's a little different because we are going to be doing this for an hour and a half as opposed to our normal 60-minute time frame. So really make sure you get in your questions. I know the first 5 minutes it seems like you guys are quiet, but then it just seems to like pile up. So make sure you get your questions in, because by the end we usually have like 10 that I don't get to ask him because we're out of time. So if you really have a question, like a burning question, make sure you ask it kind of toward the center. So, and Jonathan, I guess, do you want to just say who you are, what you do, and where you work?
Sure. So my name is Jonathan Hamilton, and I'm a freelance digital artist. I mostly do character portraits, lots of commissions and stuff, and I work in my mom's basement in Kansas, United States. So I'm like that guy.
The like super good, amazing artist that's living in the basement.
Yeah, man, like late 20s. Mom makes food for him, just like sits on his computer all day.
You know, there's nothing wrong with that. I actually kind of enjoyed that. I lived at home for the past like 7 months, and it was awesome. I kind of liked it.
Yeah, I actually, I do not mind it at all. I think it's the ideal situation for me right now.
Yeah.
But that might just be because I get like a lot of free food.
And definitely like don't have to worry about rent payments or utilities, all that.
Right. I just get to do like art all day and like be antisocial and stuff. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty.
Okay. So I'm gonna get go. So let's go ahead and start drawing. Oops, I gotta share my screen. There we go. Okay, so we're just gonna get right into drawing, and then Jonathan, I will just kind of feed you the questions.
Cool.
The first one is kind of directed at me, but I think I want to ask you as well. It says, "Hi Tim, I was wondering, do you know any good anatomy books, since I can't find any good ones?" And this one I recommend a lot. Actually, Jonathan, do you want to give your answer, and I'm gonna run to my little art book section in the other room and grab it?
Sure. Okay. In terms of anatomy books, I think you'll find a lot of people really like the books by Andrew Loomis, and he has several as well. Like there's one just for like hands and feet, I think, and portraits. But he has some other ones as well. Uh, so definitely look into those. He's really good at like breaking down the head into like an actual process, or like even like all the body parts into like uh, basic shapes, and then you just start like um, sculpting them. I would say with lines. So he's really good at like a step by step kind of thing. Personally, I found even more helpful than that. They're not books. It's actually a series of videos by Glenn Vilppu, Vilppu, and he has like a series of video lectures. Like I think he's just lecturing uh, in front of a classroom or something. But he's extremely good at tying in the function of anatomy with how things look. And for me, that's what made it a little bit easier to understand. Is actually like what what the parts do, like under the skin. That made it easier for me to just like uh, um, burn it into my head, I guess, than like copying and like tracing shapes. So uh, what I would do is actually I would just combine as many sources as possible, uh, and sort
Mhm.
of cross reference and because I mean even then like yeah there's um, like the technical drawing part of it, like the actual medical knowledge of it, but like you can draw realistically and still um, interpret things differently too. And I've even found that even lectures and like books and stuff, they'll still sort of interpret anatomy a little bit differently. So just like combine as many sources as possible, and the ones that stick with you are probably the ones that will best help you out.
Yeah, fully agree. Um, all right, really quick, I'll share. So this is the book that I feel like I'm asked this like every other week for anatomy stuff, but this one's called Drawing Human Anatomy. It's by Giovanni Savardi. And the reason I really like this anatomy book in particular is he doesn't use like the typical superhero like mass muscle bodybuilder type anatomy. He uses like this not frail but more lean muscle models, and the way that he draws them, it really captures like the different muscle tones and the way that the muscles work together. And he really focuses on things like even like veins in the arm and how important that little subtle details like that can add just the overall look of your anatomy, especially when you notice those things, especially like like if you're pressing down on a surface and like the veins are kind of extended a little bit more because of the pressure that's in the veins themselves. I think those little details capture my attention. So I would recommend that book for anatomy. Oh man, we have a lot of questions. Okay, let's get back to.
Nice.
Okay, let's see here. All right, this one's from Ron, and he's asking you, I've kind of wondered, John, how did you first get into art, and who has been your biggest inspiration as an artist?
Hmm. Well, I guess I've been doing art, I mean, pretty much my entire life. Um, so I guess when I first started to take it really seriously, like want to do it for a living, I would say it was maybe in high school. Was when I like really was like, this is exactly what I want to do. So I'm gonna get ready for college and sort of work my way towards that. So maybe around 2006 or five or so. So about 10 years. As for inspirations, they've sort of rotated as time has gone on. Like when I first started doing art on the computer, I mean that was a big step for me. And first thing I did was like I went to DeviantArt and I made like an account there. And at that time, it was like 2005 or six or so. Like I was super into like Art Germ, um, Yana Schirmer, Loish. So like basically like all the sort of online DeviantArt celebrities I think were like really big inspirations for me. But over time I've sort of uh, gone back in time, I guess, in terms of like the things that I look at. So now I'm like really into like uh, John Singer Sargent and Degas and some of the old dead masters, I guess. Right now, though, in terms of like modern artists, like I generally name my two favorite artists, uh, Sashin Teng. He's like a he does work for like the New Yorker and other publications. I think his art's just like extremely interesting and really smart. And so he's been one of the artists that I liked for a long time, and he's just sort of still been like I haven't I haven't moved on from him. I think he's awesome. And then my other big influence that influenced me like a long time, and then he like went away, and now he's back, and it's like coming back to me like how much I like enjoyed his art is Jace Wallace, and I think you might see a lot of inspiration from his work when I do my portraits and other things. Like I like how he approaches his portraits, and I mean basically like his subject matter. And I mean while I'm not like exactly like him, I feel like he's had a huge influence on me. So yeah, those two dudes, look them up. They're my favorites.
Yeah, you might have to tell me what those were after so I can put them on our stream, like
Yeah,
after
sure.
post thing. Let's see here. The next question is from Jared, and he's asking, how long on average does it take you to paint a character portrait? Have you noticed an improvement in speed or quality since you have started working professionally?
Um, so for like the longest time, I actually did not have a process that was set in stone. And so it would literally take me anywhere from like 6 hours to like 3 days to work on like the same scale of, of an image. Because I just like had a long time of just like wandering around and trying out different things. Like even within a piece, I would like do a lot of different variations and stuff and see what worked best. And I like to take my time. But since I started doing ambient occlusion, like that the whole process, I'd say maybe for like a fully fleshed out piece, maybe about 18 hours, I would say, like not including breaks and stuff. At least that's how long it took me to do my piece that I did for Concept Cookie of Carolyn. So I think that's about average. But I like spending more time on pieces than that if I could. So like for commissions, I try to put a time limit on it just so I don't spend like 3 weeks doing like hair or something, because I know I will, but
Hmm.
I have to like limit myself or else I'll just go crazy like doing everything super like rendered. But yeah, 16 to 18 hours I'd say
Feels
is
like it's easy
about.
to get lost in the rendering, you know?
Yeah, like I mean that's like my favorite part actually. Like I almost feel like I'm suffering through the lines and through the sketches, and then I finally get to the good part when I start rendering. Um,
Hmm.
but most of the stuff in my gallery, I would say, is about the time frame. So
Nice. All right, let's see here.
also, I've been like watching you painting the the whole time. Maybe I should work on my piece a little
Oh,
bit.
really? Oh,
Yeah.
no, I'm just laying down foundations. But it's so funny that you said that because I think about that every time I do a piece. Like, I'm like, okay, just take your time with foundations. I know it's not the fun part, but then once you get into the rendering, that's when you can like really enjoy the process of digital painting.
Right. Like I almost feel like I have to suffer now through doing foundations because I'll suffer a lot more later when I'm like super far in and everything's rendered and suddenly like an arm is just completely off. I'm like, man, if only I just suffered through the sketch phase a little bit longer, I wouldn't be like hating my life right now with this this huge mistake.
Hmm. Yeah. And actually, do you want to explain to people then what your, I mean, obviously you don't have to go into full detail, but like for those that don't even know what the occlusion shadows are.
Sure. So ambient occlusion, like the whole process that I use, it's basically you're mimicking how a 3D program would like approach rendering a model. And so, for instance, you separate everything into its own step or pass. So you handle like the outlines differently. You handle the lighting separately, the colors, because usually when you paint, like you paint on the color and you like, it's you sort of blend everything into like like everything else at the same time. But with this method, you're like completely like you're like singling everything out so that you can change them at will. And for for the occlusion shadows in particular, those are like the shadows that will show up like in tight spaces. So like if you move two objects together, you'll start to see like a shadow that appears. That's not like it's like not a cast shadow, and it's not like from like from a source of light that's like from a single point. It's like the all-around inability for light to reach those spots will create like a shadow. And basically, once you do that to your painting, it'll give it like a very three-dimensional, like almost like a Pixar film-ish kind of look to it. And it's something that I found like really fits with my style. And so, like, if you wanted something to look, like it was like from a 3D film or something, like you can add those shadows in, and it looks pretty cool to me, at least.
Yeah, that was actually like the best way to explain it. That was really good. Let's see here. Here's a funny one from Ron. He's asking, I feel the most important question we need to ask John is how did his love for LeBlanc start?
Oh boy, I know which Ron that is too. Well, I actually used to play LeBlanc as support.
What?
And so it was at the time when the meta was like so many poke champions were playing support. It's like Karma. Actually, I know the exact time that I was like, I'm gonna never play regular support again and only play LeBlanc. It was when I got poked down. Like I was playing Janna, and I got poked down by this Karma like really hard in lane. I was like, man, I just want to kill that Karma. Can I just burst down that Karma? And so I was like, man, I'll just play LeBlanc from now on. And that was back when she had her silence. And so it actually worked out back then. Now they took away her silence, and she's not viable as a support anymore.
Oh.
But yeah, League talk, by the way.
Yeah, right.
In case anyone's wondering what we're talking about, it's the game League of Legends. Both.
I guess I should have prefaced that one. I always assume like everyone knows of League of Legends.
Yeah.
That's ignorant of me to think that. All right, let's see here. I don't want to say this name because I'm gonna butcher it, but it's Fabize, I think. They ask, is there a preferred size to sketch, and what would be about the size when going in the final stage painting, or is it the same?
If by size you mean size relative to your eye, like not necessarily like resolution, but like actual like how big it is when you look at it, like I actually like sketching small. Like I like sketching zoomed out. Because I think if you zoom in too much or too early, you'll start focusing on stuff that you shouldn't be focusing on. Like the best way that I can think of sketching is like balancing the macro with the micro. Like there's a lot of macro stuff, which is like the overall feeling or the overall shapes. All the big shapes, all the big colors. And you have to balance that with like the macro, all the detailed stuff. And I think if you, like, I'm pretty sure everyone, once they get to a certain point in rendering, they zoom in and they get really into everything. So like usually people have the micro covered, but the macro I think is something that people should focus on. It's something that I've been trying to focus on more too, because I'm definitely one of those people that will zoom in as soon as possible and start working on like every strand of hair. So basically just sketch where you can sort of like you can squint your eyes and you can basically see everything at a glance at any time, just to make sure that it like really breathes. Um, but like in terms of like resolution, it's whatever you want to use the image for. In the end, like if you're gonna print it out, you want to have like a big resolution, so you won't have to like blow it up past its uh, normal size and have it pixelated.
Hmm.
So yeah, just like whatever helps you, like whatever helps your mind process the image, I think is the best size to sketch. And like I know people that can actually sketch really big, and it won't be a problem with them. But for me, I have to sketch small.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way too. Let's see here. We got. Oh, here's a good one. Another one from Jared. He asked, if you could travel back in time to the younger you, what professional advice would you give yourself?
Oh man, that's a good question because I think about those kind of things a lot. Like, if I could go back in time, could I be like cool in high school? What would I do to be cool in high school and stuff? I would I would honestly try to get my fundamentals down as fast as possible. I feel for me in particular, fundamentals actually weren't that big of an issue. I actually had an early start on those kind of things. Like I learned perspective and stuff at a I think earlier than usual age, like probably third grade or something, because I was really into drawing cars and buildings and stuff. But stuff like color and everything, I got into that really late, like college years, and so I wish I had started uh, those those kind of things earlier. Also, the subject matter, I had the biggest problem actually coming up with um, interesting things to draw. And I think for the longest time, I actually my biggest struggle was not the technical side, but like the creative side.
Hmm.
So like trying to just explore as much as possible from an early age. But I mean, there's really no rush either. Like everyone has like a different timeline of things that they learn, and it's part of what makes you know their style and what makes them. But like from a technical standpoint, I would say just like explore as much as possible while you don't have to like pay bills with your with with your art. Um, and hopefully that way you'll like find like all the different things that you can do.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I would tell myself.
Let's see here. Oh man, there's some funny ones. Okay, here's another serious one, then we'll do a funny one. From Anna, she asked, John, how did you get started in freelancing?
Um, well, basically because there was no other option for me. Like I live in Kansas, and it's not exactly the most art centric place to live, and so it was way easier for me to just start doing stuff online instead of like moving out to the West Coast or something. Uh, and I mean, yeah, I could have found like a local studio and did stuff for them, but I didn't really want to. Like I rather would have just like you know done my own thing. So basically, I just like looked online and sort of thought about what I want to do and what's available for me. And so for me in particular, it was like I felt like I would be fine just doing like a bunch of personal commissions, mostly through DeviantArt and stuff. And I felt like if I just um, like put together a long enough list of like work that I could at least make ends meet. So uh, yeah, like it wasn't even much of an option for me. I feel like it wasn't an option. It's always an option, but for me, like knowing myself and how much I just enjoy like working next to people and stuff, I was like, yeah, I'd rather just be in my room doing
Okay.
stuff.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I like to work with no one around.
Yeah.
All right, let's see here. Um, oh, here's going. Okay. 10 White Wolf 10 asks, Hi, when you were still learning, did you ever go through a phase of not doing much art, but then found when you came back to it you somehow improved? And why do you think this happens?
Yeah, actually, that happens to me a lot. Um, I occasionally do on. I mean, I occasionally do go on these like uh, um, accidental like long breaks, like of a few weeks, and then I come back and I feel like I'm even better. There have been times where I've like had a break from art for like several months, and I come back and I feel like I've gotten better. And I think that's because, at least for me, even when I'm not doing art, I'm still thinking about art. And as you know, art isn't only what you put on paper; it's also what goes on in your head. And so, as long as you're still observing, the environment, and you're still looking at other artists, or you're still at least thinking about it, uh, like you'll basically have those ideas like um, like marinate in your head for like weeks and months on end. And so by the time that you actually do come back to art, they're like ready to be like drawn out and stuff. And so I think that's uh, probably why actually like you start building up a database of ideas and of knowledge and stuff even when you're not doing art. And so when you come back to it, there's not a lot of drop off, at least mentally.
I don't think I could have answered that any better. That was good. Oh, okay, the funny one, I forgot. All right, this one's from Ron as well. He says, this is for both of you. Would you rather fight one horse-sized duck or a group of duck-sized horse?
What? Horse-sized duck, or wait,
I've
what was
thought
the,
about
what was the
because
second
this
option?
surprisingly isn't the first time I've been asked this question.
What?
I don't know if this is like a popular question going around right now, but I would rather fight the horse-sized, or no, sorry, the group of duck-sized horses.
I mean,
Just
at
because I
least you
wouldn't
could
know how to
like,
handle a horse-sized duck.
like, at least if it was like a bunch of little critters, you could like find something to just, I don't know, sweep them all off in one fell swoop or something. Like, if you're finding like a big duck, I'm pretty sure that thing would like destroy you.
Yeah, I wouldn't even want to approach that. I would run.
Yeah, like, is running an option? Because that's exactly what I would do.
Yeah, we would just run from both. That's the answer there. Oh, here's a good one. Okay, so from Fabizi again. Your gallery looks like you're more of an illustrational guy. Is it different with client work, or are you full in only illustrations and no concepts? And is there a personal preference?
Um, so basically, I try to actually accept the work that I want to do. And so I think, yeah, I'm definitely more of an illustration uh, person than like a concept or like ideas person. And so therefore, I just accept jobs that are more in line with illustration. So I haven't had to like, I don't know, get out of my comfort zone much, which may be a good or bad thing. But what was the other part of the question? Sorry, I'm like watching you
Personal,
do your hair.
er, let's see. No, you kind of answered both because you said
Oh,
your personal
okay.
preference is illustration.
Personal preference. Yeah, yeah, definitely illustration. I just feel like I don't have the best ideas. Or if I do have ideas, it takes me too long to be able to come up with them. Like, I know, like, to be a concept artist, you have to like be able to just mix and match things and come up with like really good concepts, like at like a fast rate. And I don't think that's how I I process things mentally. I think I have to like slow burn and like um, let things sort of come around.
hmm This one's from Diana. Hi guys, this is for both of you, hopefully. Where do you see yourselves in 20-ish years? Where would you like to be/do? Thanks.
20-ish years. Maybe in the living room instead of the basement. No.
Two.
I see. I actually don't know. I'm one of those people that just I I don't know what I want to do.
I
Uh,
say 20
it's
years is a big jump. Like I
20.
could
Yeah.
see maybe a
Like
5 year one.
I mean, like I do know people that do have like 20-year plans and stuff, but I'm definitely not one of those people. I know as a kid, like I wanted to start my own like uh, studio or like um, film studio or something, but right now I actually don't. I don't know.
Man, I cannot tell you how funny that is. Because when I was in like fourth grade, I thought I was gonna start my own studio when I grew up too. And I like gathered all my like I would say 8 of my classmates, and they were all working for me. Like I would give them
That's
assignments every
amazing.
week, and then like we would work on this project that we all were gonna do together. And that's it's just really funny that even as kids, like you have that sense of like what you want to do.
Right, or even like entrepreneurship and like wanting to be the I don't know the controller of your own destiny and things. Yeah, like that's what I did with my neighbors. Actually, they were like my workers, and like I would create like forts and stuff, but I would be like the guy like sitting down and like ordering them around, and they'd be like, "Why don't you ever do anything?" I'm like, "Dude, I am the boss, man. Just I'll pay you later. Just make my fort."
I'll pay you later.
Yeah,
This
I'll pay
project
you
has
money.
potential.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man.
You'll get exposure.
Ah. Oh man, two of my favorite words. All right, let's see here. Okay, this one's from, I want to say Ian. I'm so sorry if I pronounce your name wrong. It says, "Hi, Tim and John. I feel when I draw my ideas just go out of my head, so I find a lot of my artwork just forced out any ideas. How can I stop this happening?" I'm assuming you're asking, like, draw my ideas just go out of my head, so I find a lot. I think what this is going towards is like I think you should start looking at either using more reference or pulling from inspiration other than just going for it. Because sometimes artists think like using reference is cheating, or like looking at another artist's work to be inspired from is cheating, but it's really not. It's actually quite the opposite, where you can pull not only not even inspiration, like that's almost like one of the minor things, almost like you can look at an image and pull lighting information, or look at the way they treated color, or look at the way that they did contrast between saturations. And once you kind of develop your visual eye on being able to see these different techniques and qualities to different works, then you can incorporate it into your own. The ones that you like, you can start incorporating it into your own, and then that's where your own personal style kind of develops from. So I guess I'm hoping that's what you were asking, and I don't know if you have anything to add, John.
Um, so for using a reference, it's basically it's all about building up your visual library. And what I mean by that is like the things that you can just like see in your head, and then you can draw them because you've already done them, or like because you understand them. But like you can't understand things that you haven't looked at yet, right? Like you have to have some base, and so like everything comes from reality in some form or another, and so you have to like at least increase the things that you've or that you're capable of drawing through like actually studying them, and then that's where you can get to the point where like you can start combining uh, different sources of inspiration or of reference to create something new. But I mean that's basically what like drawing from imagination is. Like you're still following some type of rules, but you're like combining it in a way that's like not in reality, or um, that's not reliant on something already having existed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
But like if you look at like even paintings from Norman Rockwell, like
Ah, he's
uh,
my favorite right now.
there's some site where it's like it literally shows you the photo that he used to like paint with, like his reference, and it's like exactly this. I mean, it's like the same, but you can tell that he still put his own twist on things, which is the important part. Because I mean, it's all about what the painting is saying in the end. Like, um, it's all about the idea in the end. But
Hmm.
like if Norman Rockwell can use reference, then I think any of us have a free pass to like use some reference every now and then.
Right? Because when I think about it, like, and I explain it to even like, if you think of like the even Renaissance era, like Leonardo
Right,
da Vinci and all them, like they used literal like physical anatomy reference in front of them. Like
right,
the
right.
pre-Google days, they were using reference.
Yeah, like I mean, and they would like just go to they would go uh like slice up dead bodies and stuff and like try to understand things that way. So they were extremely like resourceful in terms of um, you know making their art as good as possible. So like if they're willing to like go like look at dead bodies and stuff, I think we can at least be okay with looking up some images on Google if you don't know how to do a hand a certain way or something.
I fully agree. Thank you, RBK Ninja. I don't know if I'll pull that comment on the top. Um, all right, this one's for you, and I think they mean it in not a disrespectful way, but in a serious manner. Patricio is asking, do you have any tips on drawing boobs or breasts in general?
um, really think about the physics. Um, and like the fleshiness of it, and just look at reference. Like that shouldn't be too much of like uh, it shouldn't be too bad of a task. But be I think subtlety I think is important. Like like there's sort of a stigma with like comics and like other things where they make the flesh like more like I don't know uh, rock solid um, like cylinders or it's like really look at a lot of reference and try to and like try to imagine how the flesh would react because like you also have to consider like the type of clothing like different types of tops will have different effects as well like it's not all the same and you have to sort of take into account like the forces acting upon the flesh. I think that's basically the most important thing is like in addition to gravity, what else is going on, and then basically knowing how to shade it where it's not too um, I don't know like not too harsh and offensive. Like I try to keep my shading a little bit softer and stuff just so that it's a little bit more attractive because you can definitely go down a certain path where you become like that guy that does like I don't know sort of super cheesecake stuff. But yeah, also like there's know your lighting conditions.
Yes.
It's it's really good to like just think of the shapes as like big shapes to start off with, and so like knowing the um, like how the transition from the rib cage to the uh, the roundness like looks in different lighting conditions, like knowing your light source, and then because I mean there's really only so many ways that you can light uh, a bus, and so just sort of knowing in general how they look in different shading or in different lighting um, scenarios, and from there basically you can just like start wing it, and then you just like apply all your knowledge and then you have beautiful boobs.
Mhm.
Is that what we all want?
All right, this one's from Nix. He's asking, hi, this is for John. How long have you been illustrating with your occlusion shadow technique? Do you find it hard to switch to that method of working, or was it already similar to how you were working before that?
Um, well, I've been doing it since about March, and that's when I came across uh, Jiru Jiru Kaze on DeviantArt. I don't know his real name, but he had like some really crazy looking um, like drawings that were just the occlusion shadows, and then I digged further and found out that there was like a nice tutorial by Sam Nielsen about uh, using ambient occlusion, but his process covered like everything. Like it covered adding color and stuff too. And I was like, man, this is exactly what I wanted. Like because I've always been wanting to get that sort of Pixar 3D model look, but I never knew how to go about doing it. And I tried it on my own, and I just didn't like it didn't click until I discovered that there are these magical things called occlusion shadows that actually do uh, they actually do appear in real life, but when you like really emphasize them in your picture, it like really gives it that 3D model sense. And so it wasn't too big of a transition for me going from um, my normal style in terms of like adding light and stuff. Well, like what I used to do is I used to just literally just try to do things on one layer. Like I hated using layers. I felt they were too distracting, especially once you had too many of them. It's like, man, like I just want to flag this and just paint on top. And so that was actually a really cool thing once I started using the method because it allows you to go back and change a lot of things without actually having to straight up repaint entire parts of your painting. Like you can change the color on like someone's shirt by just shifting the hue to like a different color and not have to change the lighting, not have to repaint it. And so it was all the all the issues that I usually would come up with or that would usually occur when I'm doing my normal painting style by doing the ambient occlusion style or process. It sort of it addressed a lot of things that I really wanted. So I was able to make the transition to doing a lot of layers because it was worth it for me to at least have the flexibility like late in the process to just make huge changes. So yeah, I mean it wasn't too bad. I still thought of well like it helped me think of lighting better. Like not necessarily like teach me more about lighting, but it forced me to really pay attention to it. And I think that's something that I really needed to learn. So, but like I've always liked just like studying lighting and stuff, and so it wasn't like a huge transition in terms of that, but it I feel like it just fit me perfectly. Like it's exactly what I wanted. So,
Yeah.
I'm just watching you like paint those ears.
I'm
I'm like
having way
mesmerized.
too much fun on this guy.
Yeah.
All right, let's see here. Oh, here's a good one, but I think it kind of talks about when people say like you have potential to be good. So
Right.
Benedict is asking, I always feel people see more in me than my skill is really worth at the moment. Am I wrong in thinking, and is this a common thinking, or should I worry about it? I feel like I chase my better me, but never reaching it, but always longing.
Um, like honestly, I feel the same way. Like,
Really?
why am I even here again? Like, I'm sure you could have found a better artist than me.
Oh,
Uh,
don't even give me
but
that.
yeah, that's if you're anything like me, that's completely normal. Like, I feel like that's even a good thing, or I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's not the worst thing in the world for people to think that you're good and to not feel that you've like lived up to that, like because that just means that you have like uh, high expectations of yourself and you have good taste and you know that you can always do better, and that's like actually a good place to be. It's just knowing that there's still somewhere that you can go to like improve. So um,
Hmm.
yeah, like I would not be worried at all. That's how a lot of people, and like that might not ever go away either. Like I don't know if you'll reach a day where you'll be like, man, I'm finally as good as I thought I would be. Like I finally hit the top of the mountain.
Yeah, I
Like,
hope no one ever reaches that. I feel
yeah,
like when they stop improving.
right, right. But it's all about whatever keeps you going. Like as long as you don't ever stop, like it almost doesn't even matter what you think. Like as long as you just keep doing art, like do whatever it takes to like reach your dreams.
Reach for the stars.
You reach for the star.
All right, this one's a good one. Okay, Nicole's asking, I was wondering, as an inspiring concept artist, what kind of things do clients want to see in your ideas and what kind of things are more popular?
Hmm. Actually, I don't know. Maybe you can answer this one, Tim. You're a more of a concept artist guy than me.
Yeah, I would say starting off I was. Now I consider myself more of an illustrator, but I definitely think whatever studio that you are applying for, definitely do your research and try to apply your or like almost cater to them. So like build your portfolio around them. If this is like a
Right.
specific studio that you're trying to, obtain a job from, like I think I want to say my friend that now works at Riot, before he worked there, like he had a 8 month trial period. Like it was really long. And at the beginning, he had some stuff that was kind of in the same realm that Riot does their artwork in, but he really needed to focus on like what specifically makes their art so distinguished, and then try to work toward that. So I think like if you are specifically looking for a studio, that's the route I would take. But if you're talking about just in general, um, I would definitely say who I forgot who what artist told me this, but they said quality is always in demand. So
Right.
like literally just keep pushing your work to be the highest quality that you can, and then for your portfolio, for me at least when I was doing portfolio critiques, it's always quality over quantity. Like I don't care if you have 100 pieces, if like 90 of them are just kind of like subpar quality, and like 10 of them are amazing, like I'm going to be, stuck and focused on the 90% or the 90 of them that were not so great, because then in my mind I'm thinking, well, they don't have the eye that can, sense like what I should include in my portfolio, like what I want to
Right.
represent me.
Like they don't even know what makes these things good. It seems like.
Yes.
So like just knowing. Uh, my teachers used to say like you're only as good as your weakest portfolio piece.
Yes.
So like like honestly, if you have seven really good pieces and you feel like you want to include eight, but the eighth one isn't as good, just don't even do it. Like um, like show your best work uh, and show that um, because like if you're going to be doing concepts, most likely you're going to have to do them in like a house style, or at least you won't always be doing your same um, like your same style like all the time. And so if that happens, like what's left? Well, it's your attention to detail, it's your storytelling, it's all the things that sort of uh, that are more universal than just what's in your portfolio. And so my teacher used to say that the portfolio is what gets you in the door, or it's what gets you the interview, but your process is what keeps you the job.
Yeah.
So just like show that even if you have to do things a little bit differently than what you're used to, you can still be, you know, they can still work with you. Like I think a lot of studios wouldn't mind you being a project for a while, as long as in the end you'll you'll understand. So yeah, just like show competence. I guess is what I'm trying to
Mhm.
get at.
Let's see here. Oh man, we got a lot of questions. Okay. And
Oh
we're
yeah.
still have about, let's see, 40 some minutes left.
Wow.
Let's see here. Oh, this one I think you'll be good with answering. Okay. It says, "Hey Tim," even though I think I want you to answer this one. One question: how do you know a composition works, and if there's a good place to read about golden rules? Thanks.
Hmm. Composition. Actually, that's one of the things that's still is still elusive to me. But
I feel like you
um,
do such a great job with it, though.
thanks, man. Like lately, I've been really thinking about continuous lines. So like lines that will flow through a drawing, but aren't necessarily like the same line, like the same object in the drawing. Like you can have a hand that like sort of it flows up into the face, into the hair or something, and it creates like this this shape that sort of leads the eye around the canvas in like a very even fashion, or in a very um, like it's like you're almost designing, like not only are you designing the picture, but you're designing how you want the picture to be seen by the audience. And so you put in uh, little cues that'll get more or less attention, and then you're just sort of like doing your magic and like making the person see what you want to see in the order that you want them to see it uh,
Mm-hmm.
in that sort of way. And so for me, for the composition, I always try to um, make everything um, like radiate outwards from all of the focal points. And so basically, if you just do enough work, you'll eventually come up with like little tricks and stuff to like um, make sure that the person seeing the image for the first time looks at what you want them to see, in the order that you want them to see it. Because not everyone's going to look at the same thing every time, but at least you can make it, uh, for the most part, you can make people sort of, you can like manipulate them. But like, I actually haven't found any sources or many sources from that. Maybe it's just all my knowledge is coming from just multiple like streams and stuff, but I can't actually think of like a really good um, source for that, unless, I mean, you could look at some classical, some like studies of classical works, by like by the old masters. I know there's a lot of books and lectures and stuff about like how they went about uh, doing their pieces, and so you could take things from that. Sort of like the whole in the Last Supper, all the figures are like grouped into threes, just because it's like easier for the viewer to process it, that kind of thing. But I mean, I actually don't know of any really good sources yet, and if you find them, please tell me, because that stuff's really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think I have like one website, but I think collectively, like I think we all kind of know like the rule of thirds, things
Right.
keeping in depth of field, having and like what you were talking about, like how you have those visual cues or like visual guides to lead the viewer around,
Right.
and like not only like the subject matter, but so much more can be brought into it, kind of like what you're talking about, where it's like contrast or even saturation, like things like that can pull the viewer's attention to different areas.
Right. Like color, temperature, and large versus small shapes, and straight versus curved. Like just uh, try to brush up on your Gestalt principles. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's
Mm-mm.
basically like what makes up every image is basically boiled down to those like 7 or 8 principles, and therefore like if if your image has all those in some way, then you're you're pretty well off in the in the compositional uh, department.
I guess while you're kind of, or you were working on a little bit, but Megan's asking, or Megan is asking, any tips on drawing hands?
Oh man, so I'm like the worst person in history at drawing hands, and so um,
Worst person in history.
worst in history, like arguably number one as the worst. Uh, but uh, from my research and understanding, it's basically think of the big shape first, and think of the gesture. Like even if every finger isn't correct, at least if the hand as a whole is, um, because hands are very emotional too. Like that's like what the second largest source um, of emotion on a person right behind their face. Like uh, if if the movement or the gesture of the hand is pretty like it, if it's clear and it's readable, then that's like a good starting point. Also, just like if you really want to get into like hands and stuff, learning the actual um, the bone structure of the hands. Like I had no idea there were so many bones in the wrist, and like like what the bones actually look like. Like each finger is actually slightly different. Like the bones, like it's not the same finger, just different sizes. And so it's like specific things like that. But uh, balance the macro with the micro, balance the big shape with the small details, and at least that's a start. But yeah, hands suck because you have to be patient with them. Like,
Suck.
and I'm not very patient with hands. Like, well, I'm scared to really get into hands on every piece because it's like, man, I know I'm gonna spend like 20 hours just doing this hand and doing every little thing on it. So I don't look forward to the hand. But it's always good to like force yourself to do it too because that's actually what a lot of other artists will look for. Like the first thing that they'll look for are like the hands and the eyes and stuff, and seeing if you actually know your stuff or if you're uh, faking it. And trust me, I'm good at faking stuff. It's like my number one skill.
Let's see here. All right, Ben's asking, I'm 15 and I would love to be a concept artist in the future. Although, what do you think I should aim to do at this age if I want to have that career?
Hmm. Uh, that's a good question. Well, in addition to really getting your fundamentals down and all the technical like parts of making art down, like anatomy and lighting and everything. Start just like maybe working on your own ideas, but like more than just like a one-time image kind of thing. Like come up with your own story and actually try to like really uh, work out like everything about the the story's universe and like all the characters, like not only the main characters but like all the side characters, and if you're into it, like the vehicles and the landscapes and stuff. Like really try to um, think of doing your art as like an ongoing um, project, like working on ongoing projects and doing multiple pieces from the same um, like story
Universe.
and universe. Yeah, like because I like that's what you're going to be doing is you're not just going to do like a one-time thing and then just move on to the other story. Like no, you're going to be like living in that world for like months and years. And so the ability to like really flesh things out, I would say, is something that you could start working on. But but that's like the fun stuff, like thinking about what characters do on a day by day basis, and working out like everything in that world. I think sounds pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Oops. Yeah, I agree. And make sure you practice every day.
Right.
Okay, Sandman's Manser is asking, how to paint a specific light source like on characters, a blue moonbeam or a direct sunlight, explosions, fire, and this question is for both.
Hmm. Like how to specific specific light source? Like
I think I know what they're trying to ask, so I guess like I'll go first then.
okay.
Um, so like if you're doing explosions and you have like an explosion in the background of your character, you have to make sure that that light that the explosion is giving off is represented everywhere on your character. Because if it's inconsistent with the character, then it throws the entire lighting scheme off, and like the thing that you're trying to be impressive with is actually now becoming the downfall of the piece. So when you're adding things like an explosion or isolated lighting, such as like what else was one of the ones you had? Oh, direct sunlight. Like making sure that all the cast shadows from the face line up, making sure like the angle and the direction of the lighting feels consistent throughout. Because sometimes if a cast shadow, if you have like two cast shadows on the same person, like let's say you had, I'm trying to think, like if it was a direct overhead sunlight and you were getting cast shadows from like their ears, if one of them it was like more on the side of their face and one was on their shoulder, it throws the entire composition off. Even if it's beautifully rendered, the lighting will throw it off. So I think to paint specific light sources like that are so oddly specific that aren't just like pillow shading lighting sources, I think staying consistent and making sure you're thorough is probably my biggest advice on that one.
Yeah, I'd say consistency is like the number one thing with lighting. Um, like even if it's like not intense enough or like too intense or uh, if the colors are off, like as long as the shadows and the direction is still consistent, like it'll still at least be a little bit more passable, like more believable. So just like and sometimes that requires you to be kind of bold. Like you'll have to put like some harsh shadow where you normally wouldn't want to, or like you'll have a part of the face that you feel is done, but then you realize that the light source is gonna make like a shadow like right down the middle of like their face or something, and unless you want to completely change the lighting of the rest of your piece, like you'll have to do that in order for it to look correctly. But um, like you have to just be able to like, I mean, that's what your undo button is for. Like put down those big bold shadows and lighting, and just like don't be afraid to you know have like half of your face in shadow if that's what the light source you know is actually doing. So yeah, just like and also just like learn the properties of certain light sources too, like in terms of like color temperature and even like on different materials, like how you handle like subsurface scattering and reflective light and stuff. Uh,
Oh yeah,
like
definitely.
the properties of light in general, like you can never have something that's only lit on one side, like even if it's completely black in the background, like there will be some reflective light no matter what every time. And some, one of the problems with looking at a lot of photographs for reference is the camera actually cannot pick up as much light as what is actually happening. And so a lot of times you'll have either overexposure or you'll have too much darkness where there's actually light being like reflected and showing up in those dark shadows. And so just like knowing the properties of light, and even if you don't see it in your reference, at least knowing that yeah, this would happen. Even if I can't see it, I know it's there, so I'm going to put it in anyway. And then usually that's like it 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 pushes your lighting to the next level once you actually like combine um, like sort of on the spot knowledge from your reference with like your existing knowledge of like what should it be happening. Because you can't always trust your reference too. Like you kind of have to know more than just what's in front of you.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. Oh, here we go. Okay, from 10 White Wolf 10 again. How do you guys deal with negative influences? I feel that doing art with others is really nice experience, but someone I know can be less than modest at times. I hate conflict, so I feel all I can do is sit quiet when really I feel like it's affecting us.
Um, I think like like any responsible artist, you should just run away from your problems. I mean, okay, I would like if possible, just like I don't know, don't hang out with that dude. I mean, um, just don't let it affect you. I feel like like you'll just be bombarded by stuff nonstop. I like mentally, so you have to just find ways to uh,
Not even
filter
give it
through.
attention.
Yeah, yeah, like um, I don't know, like well, I mean, this is because I'm like a complete shut-in and like don't talk to people. But I've actually just like completely distanced myself from anything that's like not that would not have like a positive impact on me. You know, like I don't know, like old friends that are just sort of wandering through life and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I don't even need to really talk to those people anymore. I mean, it sounds harsh, but that's actually how I would go about doing it. So.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think it just sounds harsh, but it's very true because then those
yeah.
influences, like it does kind of rub off on you. Like you know how they say like
Right.
the friends you choose, like a lot of their like traits and personality kind of rubs off on you.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah, just like uh, distance yourself from anything that you feel is like not conclusive to uh, what you want to accomplish. Like, I remember I was watching one of Dave Rapose's live stream. Dave Rapose's big influence on me, at least mentally. So like the things he says, I always pay attention to. But he was like, yeah, like he would have friends invite him over, and then they would just like sit around and like watch a movie, but not really do anything. And he was like eventually he just didn't feel like hanging out with those people anymore. And there's like nothing wrong with that, but it's just like um, like it wasn't what he was into, and it wasn't really doing him any favors of like improving at what he really wanted to like accomplish. So he just sort of like channeled them out. And I think, I mean, and it's hard too when you're like at school and stuff because obviously you're just with people like all the time. But like once you have the ability to like go out on your own and stuff, if that's what you think needs to happen, then just do it.
Yeah, and I feel like eventually then you will find your own group of people that like cater to what you like.
Right, right. Like it's not like you're gonna like abandon all your old friends and you'll just be like lonely and stuff doing art. Like you'll like it always it seems to happen like naturally. Like you'll just find people that are like into the same thing as you are, and there are people that actually exist that are into what you want to do. Like because like none of my friends in high school and stuff they like were into art at all, and so I always felt like I was on my own. But as soon as I got to college, it was like, oh man, it's like all these people that actually want to do art for a living. Like I finally found my home. But uh, and I guess related to that is like once you're out on your own, it's really important to have a circle of friends that you can really trust to like bounce work off of. Um,
Yes.
so for me, I have like a group of people that like I know them all pretty well, so like I can take different things from them. Like obviously I think everyone has friends or even family members that are just like anything you do is just like amazing, like wow, like dude, this is so good, and and that's good too because it's good to know that people like your stuff, but it's also good to have the friends that are just like yeah, you just this could be done a lot better. Like you didn't do this one as good as you could have. Try again. Like those type of people, and but it's like people that you trust, that you're like relying on them to just give you the straight up like, is this good or not? Because I think most of the people that you come across in life will be like just amazed that you can even like move a pencil, but um, the friends that are willing to like constructively break down your work and like really spend time and actually like give you really good feedback, I think are the ones that you have to just be like, once you find them, you have to just hold on to them because those guys are like the biggest helps, especially like once you're out of school and you don't have a teacher to do that anymore. Like you have to find some other way to um, get feedback on your work. Otherwise, you might hit a plateau where you just can't see the mistakes in your work anymore, and that's pretty much the scariest place you can be, is not knowing what else you can do to like improve.
Yeah. And it's kind of like people ask a lot in the streams, like, how do I find these people? But I
Right.
agree with you where it's like it kind of just happens. Like even the fact of me and you talking, it's like it was random and it just kind of happened.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, like, put yourself out on in the the interwebs, and I'm not by any means the most like social person, but even I was able to find like a group of people that I could show my art to and talk to. So if I can do it, it's definitely possible for
Hmm.
anyone else. So yeah, just like um, and like usually your first idea or like your first instinct is the best. So like if you feel like I could actually reach out to my DeviantArt friends and put something like on Skype, like a Skype group where we can bounce stuff off, then try it out and see if it works. Just
Yeah.
find whatever means that feels like you can actually put together a group of people and just try it out and see if it works.
Oops, I forgot to select the question. Let me see. All right, this one's from RBK Ninja. This person's also been commenting on how adorable we are, apparently. She says, enough about how adorable you two are. Actual question. When you start a new image, do you prefer to work out all the details prior to really starting, or do you figure it out as you go along, like you suddenly want them to have a satchel or something?
Um, Definitely the latter. I think if I knew exactly what I was getting into every single time, I would just get really bored. So I always try to leave like at least a window during sketch phase or like early on where I can just straight up uh, do random things and see if it works or not, and like happy accidents. Um, so I think leaving a part of your process completely open like that is always helpful.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, just let it flow. Some of the best, some of my favorite pieces that I've done that I feel are the best. Like the parts of those works that are the most impressive to me are the ones that I only came across like halfway through the process, where I just was like, maybe I'll try this, and then it just turned out to be like way better than I imagined. And and that was like that piece is now like um, my milestone piece, like that kind of thing. Like you have to just allow the creativity to just like sort of happen. So yeah, I mean, like knowing what you want to do is important too. So like again, you should just like balance things, balance what you want to do with allowing yourself a little bit of randomness to invade your piece and possibly make it better. Just like give your subconscious mind as many chances as possible to create something that you couldn't have come up with, like you know from the very start. And
Hmm.
those pieces will usually turn out to be like your favorite pieces or the most important pieces.
Let's see here. Okay, Jacob is asking a question. Where in your life did you feel like you really felt that your art had improved and you could see the improvement? A question for the both of you.
See the improvement. Definitely once I started college. I think prior to college, I just didn't do enough art. And so once you start doing a lot of art, you'll just things will start happening. And obviously in college, you're just you're doing art like all the time. and you're doing things that you don't want to do sometimes, but you have to do them anyway because you get graded on. So uh, having like being forced to do this a lot of work, even more than your comfort zone. I, like once you get to that point, things start to happen, and you'll start to see improvement. Because like a problem I see a lot of people doing is like they'll take pieces, like they'll do pieces one by one, and they'll take a lot of time on them, but it's almost too early for them to do that. Like there's a part in your career, or there's a part in your learning curve where you literally would benefit from just doing more pieces rather than, like there's actually a part where you should be doing more quantity than quality. Like you should be
Yes.
focusing on just going through like a huge library of like work, like putting together just like a bunch of stuff. And then once you're past that part, then you can dial it back and start taking more time on things. But I mean, as for when that part of your learning curve is, it's hard to say. But I think you'll know.
I was gonna say deep down, I think you know.
Yeah, like you'll know. I think if you should be doing more work, uh, and you'll definitely know when you should be spending more time on work, and that I think comes after you've already gone through the whole like doing 400 sketches, of one thing phase. So, what was the question?
Yeah, no, that was good.
It was,
But then, like, where did you specifically for yourself see the improvement?
yeah, it was definitely once I got to that point where I was like, okay, I'm just doing a lot of work, but I'm seeing, because like the improvement isn't usually piece per piece. It's like you have to see it as a whole. Like you have to see your portfolio as a whole to really start to see like, okay, I was getting better at this point, and then I got even better. Like very rarely do you have like something that just drastically improves from one piece to the other. Like, I mean, if if you make it a point, you can, and that's actually what I try to do. Is like I try to improve one thing every single piece. Uh, but like usually in terms of just overall like getting better as an artist, like it's gonna take more than just a few pieces. Like you have to look at the grand scheme of things, and in order to
Hmm.
look at that like from the best point possible, you have to just have a lot of work that you can look at. And so you have to produce a lot of work, and when you're producing a lot of work, like things will just uh, you'll just process things differently, and um, those things are like what you have to get through. Like you have to be able to like know what's good or bad about your piece, and how do you know if it's good or bad if you've only done one person in your whole life? Like you have to have a bigger pool of reference, I think, in order to make improvements. And so just create a lot of work. Like if basically the rule of thumb is if all else fails, just do a lot more work. Like that usually solves a lot of problems. Just doing more work.
And oftentimes, like, then looking back at it, like a year or two from now, you'll be able to kind of see, like, oh, this piece I really did improve on what.
Right, right. Like sometimes the thing that you're focusing on isn't actually what's improving, and then later on you'll come back and you'll be like, man, like I remember I was focusing on hair during this piece, but I actually got better at eyes for some reason during this piece, and I never looked back. So yeah, just like create as good of an opportunity as you can for yourself to like have a lot of references to your old work, and um, just just make a lot of stuff, basically.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Let's see. Looks like we got just over 10 minutes left,
Wow,
right?
that's so fast, dude.
I told you these go so fast. I know. I think it sucks because like I really enjoy this one. I'm probably gonna spend another hour on it after just to
Yeah,
areas. But I think what we'll do is then we'll try to go through as many of these as we can so that there's not too many that were left out. But we'll try to answer them a little quicker then. Let's see here. This is from Ron, and he says, okay, here's a legit question this time. I know you love drawing boobs, John, but is there any other subject that you'd love to be really good at, and what would it be?
um, So actually, before I went to college, I actually only drew cars and buildings, mostly cars actually. And for the longest time, like going into my senior year of high school, I literally thought I was gonna like go to college for my gen eds and then like transfer to like art center and do automotive design. Um,
What?
so like, but I haven't drawn a car forever, but I still like cars, and so if I could, I would like want to be better at drawing cars because because I'm just out of practice now. But yeah, I mean, uh, ladies and cars, how stereotypical.
Ladies and cars.
Yeah.
Let's see here. From Shathrika, I think that's how you pronounce it. I have been drawing for most of my life, even attended an art institute, but I feel I should be so much better than my current level, and I hate my work at times. This is a common artist dilemma, and any good tips for staying positive?
Yes, that is common. It's
Very
very
common.
common, and um, I think even like relating to art school, I think it's a common thing to just come out of art school and be like, man, what did I actually learn there? Like, I personally still feel like I'm self-taught, even though I went to like school for illustration for like 5 years. And it's just like there's only so much another person can teach you. Like you still have to figure out things on your own, and even like tutorials, it's like a lot of times the person writing the tutorial they'll take their own skill for granted, and so that they will like basically unintentionally skip parts that like aren't necessarily as as easy and like universal as they might think. So like learning um, is still like even if you go to art school, it's still completely normal to feel like you're not as good as you should have been.
Hmm.
But uh, like for me, the comfort in that was making uh, like giving myself the chance to be like, okay, well, I didn't learn as much as I thought I would, and I definitely need to get better, but I'm gonna make it as easy as possible for me to like get better now. So I I haven't had a day job since graduating school because I knew that like I just needed to just work on art all the time to like get better. And so I mean, and so that for me that was comforting. Like yeah, like after school, I was definitely not the happiest person with my skill level, but at least I had like time. Like I gave myself time to be like, at least I can reach that. So that's how I stayed positive, if you can call it positive. I'm actually a very a pessimistic person by nature, but if
What? I've never done
if
that.
if anything, um, at least I feel like I gave myself a chance, or I am giving myself a chance to at least do it. Um, and I guess a lot of times that's the most you can ask for is
Hmm.
is a chance.
The best way that someone explained it to me was kind of equating it to a personal trainer and someone that wants to lose weight. Where it's like the trainer has all the knowledge and they know what to do and they can teach you and guide you and like show you what to do, but it really goes down to you making sure that you apply those techniques and that you follow through and that you kind of then take what you learn and then be able to apply it to your work and then get to the point where it's like, oh, I don't need someone, holding my hand through all this. I've been able to do it all along. It just they kind of helped guide me.
Right, right. Like it's still you in the end that's doing it. Like he's not like your trainer isn't like suddenly like taking over your body and like making you do all these like exercises. It's like it's still you that's gonna do it, but they're just giving you a little bit of confidence, showing you the way, you know, uh, showing you that it can work if you just do it. And so
Hmm.
like I think a lot of times people are hesitant to try something just because they don't want to like waste their time. Like uh, I, s- I had so much hope in this like lesson and I spent so much time doing it and it didn't work out in the end. I'm like man, like what a waste of time. I mean, like honestly, like a lot of times it won't be a waste of time even if it isn't exactly um, you know what you
How come
expected.
you wanted? Yeah.
Yeah. like in some way or another, you're still expanding your knowledge, and if that's all you get from something, it's still kind of worth it.
Yeah. Let's see here. We'll get maybe 4 more in if we can. Okay, someone's asking, and I feel like this is a very general question too. It's I've been considering going to Art Center for the Entertainment Arts program. What would you recommend Art Center as a good school? And I guess this kind of pertains to, do you recommend going to art school?
If you're going to art school, man, that is a
Loaded
very tough
question.
question because that could affect like a lot about your life. Um, like my experience with art school was kind of mixed actually. Like I felt like looking back, like if I like the things that I learned from art school weren't necessarily like about art, or like the most important things that I learned from school actually weren't even like about like how to use Photoshop and stuff. They were more like um, how to like work with people, how to like go about process, how to know how to self critique. So like basically like everything other than how to hold a pencil, I feel
Mhm.
was the benefit of going to art school. But some people actually don't need that. Like they're already they're they have enough discipline, I think, to be able to make it out on their own, but without like a formal education. And there are a lot of artists now that never went to art school. Like Dave from Pose, I know, he never went to art school, and now he's like a household name. But
One of the masters of the current age.
yeah, so I mean, it's basically like, do you feel like you need the networking? Do you feel like you need the structure? I definitely like thinking of myself like after high school. Yeah, like, yeah, I definitely needed some kind of structure. Like I would not have made it if I just went straight into freelance after high school, or like had like a time of just trying to study on my own. Like I needed to have at least a little bit of a jump start from school to like at least get me going in the right direction, because I was like super lazy coming out of high school. But um, I know that you went to one of the art centers, Tim. Did you
Uh,
have any?
I went to the Art Institute of
Oh, Art Institute. Okay. I mean,
yeah,
yeah, is that
kind of
was
the
what you're
same.
asking for, right? Art Institute or Art Center? Because Art Center is like its own thing.
Oh yeah, I don't know what Art Center is. I'm
Yeah,
actually not familiar. But like
they
I
were.
like what you said about, like, do you personally feel like you need the structure or the networking?
Right.
If you can honestly answer that, then I think what you should go
Because
for.
like there are enough resources and there are alternatives to like actually going to art school where you can still get everything you need like in terms of learning art online. So
Mhm.
it's I mean so for art school it's more like do you have the discipline now to like be able to just go out on your own and like find those things, or do you kind of need someone to at least help you a little bit at the start to like show you the way and how to you know like learn how to learn, like learn how to improve yourself once 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 there are no teachers, like are you still able to improve? And so if the answer is no, which it is for most people, it's completely awkward, it's completely normal, like especially from me, like I didn't know how to improve without someone telling me to. Uh, so if you think you need that, then definitely look into art school. But if you think like it's just not for you, um, or like if you think that you can make it work without having someone having like grades and stuff, then there are other things you can do. Like there are other alternatives that are way less expensive that you can still get your money's worth and get like uh, really good education, even if it's more like self education.
I think literally that was like the best answer I've ever heard to that question. Like the whole idea of, like, are you able to teach yourself?
Right. And like coming out of high school, like people are so young, man. Like if if you're like a normal 18-year-old, like you probably don't know how to really teach yourself, So you have to at least
Mhm.
keep that in mind. Like it takes a special kind of person, I think, to make it without art school, but it's definitely not rarity either.
Yeah, like it's not required. Definitely not required. All right, let's see here. Since we're just about out of time, I'm just gonna quickly select some funny ones too, and then we'll cut the stream off. So let's see. Let's find a good one. Jared asks, how many 5-year-olds can you realistically take in a fight? And we're talking the most ravenous form of kids that will not stop until you disable them. How many can you take until they inevitably bring you down?
Oh man, that's a good question. I think about that question all the time, actually. Um,
I'm gonna go with a confident 9.
9. See, I don't know if I would go with maybe 7. I think they would eventually overwhelm me. I'd probably like once they start, I don't know, like slobbering on me or something. Like
You're like, I'm done. Never mind, I'm done.
I would curl into a ball and just let them like throw me off a cliff or whatever they were trying to do.
You guys throw me off a cliff. Okay, let's see. What is? Would you rather have legs? Would you rather have legs as long as your fingers, or fingers as long as your legs?
Like just lengthwise, or would they be like
No, just length.
just lengthwise? So just super long fingers, man. Uh,
I don't even know.
or legs as long as
I think just for my career, I would have to do legs
have
as
to be
long as
legs.
my fingers, just so that I can keep drawing normally. But I would have to lower my desk like
You'd
three.
have to just like stand in your chair. I
I would just like waddle into it and then just like
think. Yeah.
not even sit down. I'm already sitting down.
I mean, I think there would be a lot more comfortable, like a lot of comfortable options. I think if your legs were only as long as your fingers, like you could
Mhm.
like sit on your couch or something and have your computer right there. Maybe. I don't know, man. Deep questions.
Oh man, there are
Lots
so
of
many
ponder.
questions. I feel bad that we're gonna have to cut off. The quick ones then, really quick. How much DPI are you working on? So I'm working at 300 resolution. What are you working on?
Same, same. 300.
Next one. Do you have your own sketchbook? Yes, and I have it actually right next to me, and I draw in it. I try to draw in it every day, but sometimes I don't get to.
I'm one of those horrible artists that don't have a sketchbook, and I really should, and I know I should, but I don't because a lot of the time drawing is torture for me. So uh, I'd rather just pay on the computer. But it's important to have a sketchbook, or at least
Oh,
some
really?
place
You
where you
don't
can.
have a sketchbook?
I don't have a sketchbook, man.
Wow.
I know it's. I mean, having a sketchbook actually would solve a lot of my problems, but I'm just like I just need that undo button, and
It does help. I'll give you that.
I've grown reliant on it. Its power has consumed me.
Kira Rue is asking, John, I've been watching you for a while on DA and admire your League of
Nowadays.
Legends art, mostly because I'm a fangirl in parentheses. Will we be seeing more fan art of League soon?
Oh man, interesting that you asked that question. Actually, there is a League of Legends, an official Riot-hosted League of Legends fan art contest on Polycount right now, and I know a lot of people are doing it. And I am personally going to do that as well. So I'm going to be working on uh, a an idea for a Jinx skin, and so you'll be seeing my best attempt to do like as close to a official looking League of Legends splash art featuring Jinx by the end of the year. Is what I'm going to try
And
to
then
do.
I know, because I'm doing that contest as well, and I'll be updating on the forums. Are you going to be updating your like in progress shots on there?
Yeah, I think we have to, right? Like you have
Oh,
to
do we really?
make a thread or something like that. Yeah. So yeah, I'll definitely be on the forums, but I'm also just gonna update my my DeviantArt or my Tumblr or Twitter as well with progress shots. Because I mean, yeah, that's my big piece like for the year. Like that's my big upcoming piece. I'm really
Hmm.
excited. So yeah, the league fan art shall go on. It has not ended. There's more league fan art in your future
Yeah.
featuring. lead girls because I can't draw guys apparently.
Let's see here. Okay, last ones, and we gotta cut it off. I'm sorry. Tim, what would you say you do for a living? I would say I'm a concept artist and site manager. Let's see here. God, you know what? There's too many. We'll end it off with one more, and that's it. God, there are some funny, weird ones in here. Man, I thought there'd be like really one good one to end it off with. Oh, okay. This is the last question. Sorry, guys. Thanks for being so talkative on here and for asking some legit questions along with some serious questions, I'll say. This one is from Lone Ferret, and they ask, how do you find the transition from traditional to digital art, and how long did it take you to feel comfortable with the medium? Any tips?
Traditional too. For me, it wasn't that bad. I think usually the biggest learning curve that people have is when they go from tablet to, or from like paper and pencil to tablet, especially if you don't have a Cintiq starting off, which most people don't. And so like the whole um, uh, the disconnect between what you're drawing and your hand movement, I think, is one of the biggest things that people have to get over. Also, using the programs, I think some people have problems actually like getting Photoshop to work how they think it should work, or like because it's not as simple usually as just picking up a pencil and drawing. Like you have to know at least a little bit of the program, but I mean that's just using a tool. But it wasn't that bad for me, I feel. But I might be an exception because I also, like, before I had a tablet, I was still doing art on the computer, but it was in Flash. And so I was just doing, like, vectors and stuff with my mouse. So I got, like, an early start on doing stuff on the computer versus traditional. But for the longest time, I felt like my computer art wasn't, like, as serious and as good as my uh, it was like my because I used to do charcoals and stuff, and so that was my big thing was charcoals, and I felt like my charcoals were way better than uh, my computer stuff. But eventually that like completely switched around because I didn't spend enough time. But I don't know, like some people just don't have a problem with it, and some people have like a really big jump that they have to make between uh, traditional and digital.
Mm-hmm. And I always tell people there's like a 3-month gap from getting comfortable and familiar with just the tablet and like your muscle
Right,
memory
right.
and like switching your eye from looking down to looking at the screen.
Yeah, exactly.
That is a little weird, so I'll give you that one.
But like, I feel like, and this is like a weird problem too. Like, some people that I know that got Cintiqs, they actually preferred the the like not having your hand in front of you anymore. Like, they actually liked having everything on screen and like not looking down at the canvas, but actually like looking up at the screen because they felt like their hand got in the way, which is weird because when you're drawing with paper and pencil, like obviously your hand's like right there. But
Literally, that's what happened when I got my Cintiq.
yeah,
I don't
but
even use it.
yeah. So like a lot of people have that kind of it's almost like you wouldn't expect that to happen, but a lot of people actually prefer uh, the invisible cursor instead of like
Mm-hmm.
the big fleshy hand covering like half your canvas.
Big fleshy hands. All right, and then that is the last question. Oh, someone. Yeah, so for those of you who are wondering, yeah, I am the vampire from Concept Cookie, or at least that's what the sweater was. And I think there was my Halloween costume from last year.
Wow.
I went all out, and I don't recommend any of you dyeing your hair white. I found out it's actually on the borderline of painful, so I'll
Jeez.
recommend it. All right, but I want to thank all of you guys for coming, and really thank you, Jonathan, for doing this live stream with us, and even going 10 minutes over the initial time limit.
Oh man.
I mean, you've been fantastic. You're answering questions really well, and hopefully we'll have you back in the future someday for a future
Awesome.
one.
Yeah. I would totally love that. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, so thanks everyone, and just remember next week we have another live stream just like this. It'll be Halloween themed, and we will have Psychra joining me
Ooh,
next week.
sniper.
Yeah, right? Gotta live up to expectations. He's a big tutorial guy too. So thank you guys again, and I will see you next week. Bye guys.
Bye, guys.